We're going to look back later and not believe that we were alive right now in the main fight for America. Not that America's perfect, not that it didn't have its problems, but this is a foreign, scientific, technocratic takeover of America. And now, I asked David during the break, I said, David, what do we want to cover? And he said, well, Mueller is going with the IRS 11 years back into records of Trump and Manafort. This was a Russian investigation. You can always find some miscalculation because when you sign an IRS form, you waive your rights, penalty of perjury. If there's a $1 wrong, it's 10 years in jail time. And now Mueller, that covered up all the Clinton crimes and the NFL stuff and all this, is arrogantly saying he's got Trump. This is incredible to witness this level of garbage. And even CNN admits he's violating all the laws, all the regulations. It's like he's the president. Robert Mueller is God. Robert Mueller created the planet Earth. Robert Mueller is everything. This is, talk about security services taking over. David Knight, I don't even have words to describe how corrupt Robert Mueller is, the things he's done for the Clintons and the Bushes and the rest of it. And now to see them doing this and to see them saying, oh, it's not a Russian investigation, it's a taxes investigation. Wow.
Go back 11 years. Alex, I talked about this morning on Real News, and the title that we put it out there with was Bring Me the Man and I'll Find the Financial Crime, because that's what Stalin used to say. Bring me the man, I'll find the crime. It's not very hard to find a financial crime. Think about Dennis Hastert, right, Alex? He was picked by the GOP establishment because he was blackmailable. He was a pedophile. They knew it. Everybody knew he was a pedophile. What did they get him for? Not for that. They got him because he withdrew his own money out of the
IRS.
That's right. Well, this is money. They said you structured with your withdrawals. This is money that it's not like he was trying to launder money as he was depositing it into the bank. This is money that was already in the system. It was already in the bank. And
he'd already paid taxes.
He took it out, and he didn't notify them, took it out in small chunks, and they said, you're structuring that. They sent him to jail for that.
So again, just like the New York Times reported last year, some poor Hispanic lady, 60 years running a little diner, she did little checks and little things. It was all legal, but we took all your money in your restaurant. It was structuring.
That's right. That's right. But they wanted to get Dennis Hastert because they have made sure, the people who make the laws, they've made sure that there is a very short statute of limitations on pedophilia. That's how they all get off. And so they didn't want to, they couldn't get him for that. So it was an embarrassment after it became common knowledge that he was a pedophile. They were determined they were going to send him to jail, just like the establishment is determined they're going to get Trump out. So what do? You go after him for a...
And by the way, Hastert served like 2 years. He's already out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 It was just a case, a show trial type of thing. But, Alex, there was something else that came up this morning. And this is a report from the New York Post, a guy who did an investigation a couple of days ago. And he looked at the fact that, just like we talked about, Jerome Corsi's talked about this quite a bit, the fact that Obama funded illegally Obamacare by stealing money from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac investors. After Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac recovered, they were profitable. He couldn't get the Congress to fund Obamacare subsidies. So what he did was he just took it out of there. Well, now we've got...
He legally looted $300 million.
Yeah, kind of related to this. We've now got $640 million slush fund that is there because of penalties that they assessed against banks because of the mortgage shenanigans that J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, and others did. They got $640 million, and guess what they're doing with it? They're giving it to community organizer organizations, places like the La Raza National Council, the National Urban League, the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. And
that's right. They take those things and illegally slurp it up to give it to their little communist agitation groups. The good news is, though, I'll take a few calls and let you take over. How is their whole NFL thing going? It's blowing up in their face. Don't they get there's huge opposition?
They don't understand. They've got DirecTV is giving people refunds off of the NFL ticket. That's something they've never done before after the season has started. But they also are up against the wire because people are cutting the cable. So they're not going to stand there for these guys. Their ratings are falling. They're looking to see if they can get...
And so that's the issue.
...come out there and try to spin this. But, Alex, they have sided with Black Lives Matter. They've sided with the Antifa people. They've sided with Colin Kaepernick. And that's who he sided with. And they own it now.
Exactly. But don't they get that? I mean, I'm not bashing old folks. Old folks are great. But the people that own the NFL, these billionaires and people, they still only watch mainstream TV. They really don't get the rest of the world. And that almost no one, like 20% believes it. Almost no one watches it. When we do, we hold our nose. Don't they understand that we've broken with them? They're now admitting, okay, we're sorry we boycotted the flag. We're going to stop. Don't they understand that the world has moved on? I think there's a blind spot for these folks.
Well, I think that, you know, I played a report that I did about 4 years ago talking about crony capitalism on steroids, the subsidies of their stadiums. They've been caught multiple times, Alex. They've been caught with their tax-exempt status. Back
to Mueller, back to the gladiatorial paying to hurt folks, back to buying off the college athletes, back to covering up the concussions. Mueller, 6 years ago, brought them under federal control, no-billed them on all these crimes as long as they became subsidiaries. And so now Mueller is the head of the FBI. Really, Mueller is like the president of the shadow government. McCain was, Mueller was kind of under him, but now, you know, he's dying of a brain tumor. So Mueller really is the shadow president.
Yeah, I guess he is. He pretty much can do anything he wants. And we got multiple bills in Congress, and people are saying, is this going to pass constitutional muster? Is this going to hold up in the courts? Because we've got people who are the new Swamp Things after we get rid of people like Luther Strange, after John McCain.
So what do we do about,
Tillis who are out there saying, we're not going to let the president fire Mueller.
So what about President Mueller? What do we do about this unelected, arrogant SOB? I mean, you watch him, the way he walks around. I mean, This is a asshole, excuse me. This is a jerk. I mean, you see Mueller, just his actions, but his behavior. I mean, what a jerk.
Well, I think he has to be fired. Jerome Corsi has said that. I think the longer that President Trump lets this charade play out, the worse it's going to get. Because now they're going back 11 years. And if they're going to go back with Manafort, they're going to go back with Trump, they're going to go back with...
Well, they admit they're looking at all the tax returns.
Yeah, yeah. You got a complicated...
I thought this was about Russia. Oh, no, it's 11 years ago in Trump's tax returns.
Yeah, yeah. The Russian thing was just a red herring to cover up the crimes of the surveillance state, Clapper, and the others who committed perjury. He committed perjury on stand multiple times, saying we're not listening to...
I was talking to White House connected folks last night and others. They've told him, you're under criminal investigation. They don't even let the Attorney General talk to Trump. They've paralyzed so much under this fake investigation.
Wow. Wow. Well, I don't know. I mean, you know... there would I would, if I was Trump, I would get rid of Jeff Sessions and I would get a wartime consigliere. That's what he needs. And he needs somebody who's going to go after these guys aggressively, or they're going to come after him, because he's up against the entire surveillance state. These people are politicized. They're the ones who are coming after him. And that's the thing that really ought to scare the people in America, the fact that we...
No, I agree, because they're not going to let Trump roll over. Even if he rolls over, they're going to destroy him.
Yeah.
Well, this is war. This is total commitment. We're not looking for this. We just wanted to have freedom. But they want a war. They got one. I'll take a few calls. Let's skip this network break. Let's go to Mark in Oklahoma. Mark, you're on the air worldwide. Then Ryan and Bruce. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, Alex, how are you this afternoon?
I'm all right. I tell you, best of times, worst of times.
Well, I want to give some people some glimmer of hope. The topic that I was calling in on is kind of reverse racism in terms of how we as kind of white people are being treated. You remember a week or so back, you had the video about Carol Baker on at Baylor Medical saying that we need to get rid of all the white people because a lot of white educated people don't.
Yeah, one of the head vaccine people in Texas says whites are evil, kill them, and she's a white lady.
Yes, sir. Well, I wanted to let you know that I did follow up with that, and I called Dr. Klein, who is the head physician-in-chief for the Department of Pediatrics at Baylor Medical in Houston. And I had a really good conversation with him. He was a nice man. We spoke for 10 or 15 minutes. I told him exactly what we have all discussed and believe about kind of what's going on, that vaccination overall is probably not a bad thing, but it's what they're putting in the vaccines that are bad. And we had a good collegial discussion. And at the end, I told him, I said, there is no way you can have a doctor who believes or has taken the Hippocratic Oath to make a statement like that. And I have a problem with that. And anyway, we talked for a while, and kind of towards the end of our conversation, he said, Mark, I just want to let you know that Dr. Carol Baker has been fired at Baylor Medical. She no longer has a job here.
Really? So is that official, or has that been the news yet?
Well, if you go on their website, Alex, you'll see that her page has been removed from Baylor Medical. Now, what I could not confirm is whether or not she's still at Texas. I believe it's called Texas Children's Hospital there in Houston. It looked like to me she might have had some kind of role at Texas Children's there in Houston as well.
We need to get her fired there.
Baylor Medical, she's gone.
And it's not vindictive. You want to kill everybody, well, go to hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But I just wanted to let you guys know that, even though the odds seem overwhelming against us, that we have these small victories here and there, and that we need to talk about them. We need to let people know that there are people out there like us that are doing those things, and don't let that go unnoticed, that there are those things that are going on.
Mark, I know we're winning because of you, Mark. We're winning because of everybody out there. Don't think that. I'm always just on to the next threat, because people think I'm trying to demoralize folks with all the negativity, because the enemy thinks like that. I think if I get told about something bad, I want to do something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's great news. We're going to do a whole story about that. We'll look into her getting canned. That's good news, Mark. Anything else?
Well, I just think that you guys are right on. I've read several reports from several different places about all this stuff going on with Soros. Also want to let you know that I did call into Senator Langford's office yesterday and voice my displeasure about what's going on with DACA and what he's doing, and that the Republicans have had 8 years to overcome Obamacare, and now they've gotten off the track and gone off of these different things, and we still don't have any legislation that helps the middle class. And I told the lady specifically that, and she said, well, I disagree with you on DACA. And I said, well, that may be the case, but what you're going to find out is Langford will probably be replaced at some point if he keeps this kind of stuff up, because people in Oklahoma are sick of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Whether he's a Christian or not or whatever, we don't really care.
Don't hide behind that Christian stuff.
Has been hammered. The middle class has been hammered, and that's what I told her. And I said, we're tired of putting up with everything that we've had to put up with when the elite get to have their offshore bank accounts. They don't care. We have to live with the fact that these people are going to be put in the public school systems, and they send their kids to private schools. Who do you think is going to pay the taxes on property taxes to overcome all these people being let in that are illegal to teach them English? And so I kind of went round and round for a while. So I encourage people to call their senators, call their U.S. representatives, be respectful, and carry on a conversation.
No, I agree. Hammering them and going to public events and shaking their hand, but talking to them is the key as well. Thank you, Mark. That was a great caller.
That's going to be the end of the American dream, Alex, if we have to educate anybody who comes here from anywhere in the world and in uncontrolled numbers and educate them. We can't afford to do that. We won't be able to afford homes. We won't even be able to afford an apartment complex. So that's the end of the American dream if we have to educate the foreign citizens of other countries when those governments won't pay for their own citizens' education.
So what's the next shoe to drop?
What's the next shoe to drop? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very optimistic today because of what happened in Alabama. And I talked about this today. We've already had, coming up to this, people said, look, there's going to be a lot of Republican rhinos who are going to not run for re-election if Roy Moore wins, beating the Senate campaign fund that spent $30 million to assassinate his character. And you wouldn't believe the garbage that they told about him, the lies they told about him. He didn't have the money to respond to that, but he still beat them. And they said if he wins...
Because the mainstream's so discredited.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, people told me I did a great job making Kelly. I did a terrible job. She was so hated, it didn't matter what I did.
Yeah.
That's what they don't get now.
No. You did a great job. And people could see through what was going on with it. Just like they saw, they could see through what the Senate Leadership Fund was doing to Judge Roy Moore with their $30 million. They could see through that setup. It's the same thing that Megyn Kelly did to you. And so the key is that we've already had, as soon as that happened, today, that happened last night. Today we already had Bob Corker, who Jerome Corsi's done multiple articles about saying, this is the Republican who has, the crony capitalist who's made a lot of money blocking Obamacare repeal. He announced he's not going to run for re-election. You're going to see a lot more of that, and you're going to see people taking this back at the GOP primaries where it's going to have to happen.
And by the way, we've had 5 primaries of Democrats losing, a Republican establishment losing. That's why they're panicking.
Yeah.
I mean, this is people finally not listening to a damn word they say.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one other thing coming up too, Alex. You mentioned the police and the importance of local police. This is going to come to a head in Catalonia this weekend. I talked to Steve Pachinik about what's going on there. this morning on the Real News show. This is boiling down to there. You got the central government in Spain saying you're not going to have this election. They're arresting officials. They are.
Oh, it's incredible. Talk about it in the next segment because this is so big. I'm going to get into this more.
Fight over the police is what it's coming down to.
But if 90% of the people want independence, how do you enslave them? You can't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they have a local police force that was there as part of the Catalonia police force that was taken away from them when they were under a fascist dictatorship, and then they got it back. So this is like their sheriff's department. And then they've got another level of police that are militarized. They call that the Guardia Civil, and then they've got the national police on top of that. And so what they're doing is they're saying, we're not going to let this happen, and we're giving orders to the Massa, that's the sheriffs, if you will, in the local area. And so these guys are there. They say, we don't want to be in the middle of this, but they're going to have to decide because the people there don't have a Second Amendment. And it, like JFK said, if you make peaceful revolution impossible, you will make violent revolution inevitable. This is the force that has been unleashed. This is what we're seeing here. This is what's behind Trump.
It's everywhere.
Election. Yeah, it's not just nationalism versus globalism. It is going to be independent government. It's going to continue to devolve until people feel that they're represented in their local community, you know, their government. And that's why this is being opposed now, I think, by the Trump administration. People telling them, no, we got to stay with Spain. They got military bases in Spain. Spain is going to oppose this because they've got a lot of financial issues. They are using Catalonia.
Well, also, Catalonia literally is what's holding up Spain.
Yeah, it's a cash cow for them. Yeah, it's like 40% of their economy, and they don't want to see it go because of that. But they got a separate language, they got a separate culture. It's
some really tasty food too.
Sunday is when it's going to come to a head.
Catalonian food is like delicious.
I've never been there.
I have multiple times. It's awesome. Hey, Ryan in Missouri, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, long-time listener. First, you guys were talking about militarization. The cops and everything. Don't the cops, a lot of cops still have like the military weapons from 9/11 or maybe Afghanistan?
Sure, but statistically, those are used in a fraction of shootings. It's not that the cops are perfect. It's just that the cops is a red herring statistically. And then if we hate the cops, we drive them into the arms of the globalist.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and one thing I don't know about in the NFL, it's a disgrace to their flag. They're saying it's racist. They're actually being racist to themselves and every other race because everybody in the military are all a bunch of different, races. So,
it's not the people doing it are just being told to do it. The sponsors want it. Hollywood isn't winning, so it goes militarize, politicize, turn every different venue into something that's political, and that's why it's blowing up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it's desperation.
But it's kind of like they can't run from it, Alex, because, just because you're not interested in politics doesn't mean politics isn't interested in you. What is going on with this stuff, and you understand that this goes back to Colin Kaepernick, they've got his items from his football days stored at the African-American wing of the Smithsonian, the new museum that they got there, and part of the Black Lives Matter stuff. They understand that he's part of Black Lives Matter. He's part of the Antifa people. He's like these people who are protesting after the election. He never even registered to vote in his entire life. And yet he's doing this.
It's a loser grandstanding who's a racist.
Yeah.
He hates his white parents.
He's a Marxist.
He hates, exactly. It's all Marxist garbage with his wife controlling him. Thank you, Ryan. Bruce in Arizona, you're on the air with David Knight. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. Big fan. The only touchdowns that matter in this Marxist-Leninist day of age is the sons of God that are touching down from the book of Genesis. Those are the only touchdowns I care about. But anyway, I wanted to call you and let you know I'm a small-time talk radio show host on Spreaker, and I tweeted to @King James. I tweeted, more like King Retard, Kobe was better than you. And I got blocked from Twitter for 11 hours. Now, if they can do this to me, they can do this to you and anybody.
No, that's true. There's massive censorship where they act like there's freedom. Imagine somebody jumping in on your phone line because you're arguing with your cousin saying you can't do that. Or when you're trying to type now, you can't type certain words. It won't let you on your iPhone. It's control. It's AI suppression.
That's right.
That's right. No.
Go ahead.
11 hours, Alex. 11 hours just because King James, this guy that thinks he's he's a god, or he has the audacity to call himself King James. You believe this guy? I mean, he graduated from high school with like a 2.8. I mean, just a total reread. You know, trying to say that.
And then he calls Trump supporters uneducated.
With Twitter. LeBron James, he's bullying people. If he could bully me on Twitter, he could bully you. They blocked me for 11 hours, Alex. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Well, King James is only supposed to get positive stuff, and King Zuckerberg, wants him to only have positive responses. So why don't you learn to worship King James? Why don't you bow down to LeBron James right now?
I don't think so, no. And Kobe's a piece of trash, too. They're teaming up with...
It's disgusting. I'm done with it all. Bruce, I'm out of time. David Knight's coming up the next 30 minutes. Appreciate you staying to do this for me.
No problem.
God bless you. David Knight's got a lot to cover and a lot of clips straight ahead. We got, after this, the War Room coming up. Owen's out of town, but we've got Rob Dew and others hosting that coming up in 30 minutes. Infowars.com.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.